welcome to Make It Monday. Thank you for joining me. Today I thought I would give you a clip from last week's session of Journal Yourself to Peace. We were discussing a recent purge that I had done in my workshop, which is this space. And it made me think about a show I saw on Netflix with Marie Kondo. And I decided to change the idea of tidying the physical items in our house to also tidying our heart and our mind of beliefs that may no longer fit us or serve us. So this is how we ended up portraying that.
A lot of us are in like kind of purging mode as well for like nesting, you know, we've been at home a lot. So I also, to get inspired for this, I watched organization shows. So have you guys seen, there's a new one called The Home Edit on Netflix, and then there's an older one on Netflix, Marie Kondo. It came out like a couple years ago. What is the show's called? Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. Okay, since neither of you have seen it, I will show you a clip in a minute when we get to that part to give you some context. So anyway, she is big on tidying up and kind of only keeping the things in your house that spark joy for you. That's like her term, spark joy. So, you know, some people are really rigid about it. If you haven't worn that thing in a year, get rid of it or whatever. For her, she actually asks you to touch everything. So like if it's a pile, like she has people take their whole closet, pile all the clothes, and then one by one take them and like, does this spark joy for me? So they actually hold it, and she describes sparking joy as like, you know, like that feeling of like, yes, I love this. And if it doesn't do that, then, you know, to go ahead and either donate it, trash it, get rid of it. And then there's a third category. So it's not all keep and give away. There's one more category, which is, she says like a treasure box, and that's for memorabilia, right? Like mementos, sentimental stuff. So you have your keep, and then with that is the goal is to kind of keep it in like one contained thing, but also where you can see it really easily since it's special to you. So if it's family photos, find a way to display them. If it is, you know, like for me, it's my stuff from my old business. I couldn't bring myself to get rid of everything. So I'm going to put a couple of the baby clothes in shadow boxes on the wall behind me. And then I also kept like one little cubby full of the supply, like just enough supplies in case I'm giving them as gifts or whatever in the future, you know, but condense it down and keep it in a place where it's easily accessible. So not like up in your attic, whatever, something that's special to you. I say all this to say, we're going to set up the page for this right now and then let the paint dry while I share with you guys the activity. So let me get back to my slide and go to this. So my thought was, and you can pick your own aesthetic if this doesn't resonate with you. My thought was, if we're talking about kind of nostalgic things, and if I'm asking you to look backward, which I'm going to, I wanted the pages to look old. So I used tea to start. So that's the picture on the left that you see. I took my tea bag and I just kind of got the excess water out of it. And then I just, I'm going to show you in my little journal thing, in my journal view. I went like this and kind of like dabbed it on the page to get some old looking watercolor. I went like this and kind of like dabbed it on the page to get some old looking watercolor. Additionally, I used watercolor for this page, the one that you see on the right. And so I'm going to do it for you guys here as well, just to show you some techniques. But the goal for me was just to fill the page, one, and two, to make it look kind of old. You can choose with how you do it. So I have my paint water, and I have a paper towel to dab my brush on. And if you do not have watercolor paints, that is completely fine. You could also use crayons, markers, anything, just to color the page. So I kind of use brown and black and just added water to those to kind of add in with my tea bag situation. And really, I was pretty messy with it. So the goal for me was to make it look aged and worn. So I didn't really worry about it looking like any kind of way. I just splattered some paint on there. So we're going to think about our beliefs as clothing for today, just for the sake of identifying with this theme, okay? So I'm looking for my envelope. There it is. So what I used for this was old book pages because, again, I was going for the nostalgic look. But if construction paper, loose leaf paper, any type of loose paper that you have around, this is when you want to grab that. So we're going to draw some very basic clothing shapes and then cut them out. So we're going to actually have little pieces of clothes right here. So this gives you kind of the step-by-step. So I drew it, I cut them out, and then I also made 2 labels. For one page is going to be your keep page, and one page is going to be your treasure box page. So I want you to think about these clothes as beliefs that you held to be true growing up. Here are some topics, y'all, to kind of help you start thinking about what this may be for you. So any of these different topics you can think through and think, what did I hear about this as a kid? What was I taught? So what we're thinking about is when you were a kid, what early beliefs did you have? Or throughout your teen years, in college. Here we go. So religion, it could be how God sees me. What were you taught about that? Or what did you believe about how you were seen? Also, how you view God, deity, universe, finances, any beliefs about that? What did your family teach you about money? Also, body image. So what were you taught, or what did you believe about what the ideal body looks like? What definition of beauty were you following as a kid? What did you hear? And Kali, what do you hear? What do people say is pretty? What do people say is beautiful? Do you agree with that or not? So the goal is on the clothing to write down anything from what I'm mentioning, and I'll give you an example in a second, but you're going to just write down what you were told, and then you're going to make the decision, do I want to keep this piece of clothing or do I not? All right, so moving on, so identity, so who you should be. Who do I feel I am? How do you see yourself? So this could be a belief that you had about yourself. It could be one that nobody told you, you just believed it about yourself, if that makes sense. Goals for the future. So what you should want. What should be your goal? So when you were a kid, what did your parents tell you? What did your teachers tell you about you should A, B, C, D, and E, whatever it was. You should be a doctor. You should blah, blah, blah. How to be happy. Priorities, where your priorities should lie. How to choose your career. And then a different category, relationships. So what is maybe a belief around what does an ideal relationship look like? And maybe you weren't specifically taught this, but maybe you just believed it from what you saw around you at the time. Maybe you imagined what a relationship for you would look like in the future. Think back to that, okay? Another question is, what things should you share out loud with others? So I'm going to go ahead and put my labels that I made for keep and treasure box. And by treasure box, I mean a belief maybe that was endearing to you. maybe you believed something was real, but maybe you found out later it's not, but it's still sentimental to you, if that makes sense. So it could go in the treasure box. Like, okay, I don't actually like, all right, but it makes me feel good. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my labels to my papers and see if I can come up with any that I want to keep. But also, y'all, another fun thing you can do, because this is your body and your beliefs, unlike clothing, beliefs are free to create. Like if you go and you clean out your closet and then you feel like, okay, I want to buy new clothes, you may actually have to like buy them. For beliefs in this front, since I'm getting rid of these, I can actually pick a new belief that I want to believe and put it in my keep box. So I'm realizing as I'm making these, I'm like, man, I'm running out of ones that I want to keep. But we can rewrite, we can create endless amount of new beliefs. We can change the story that we choose to believe. So I'm going to use the ones that I'm getting rid of and kind of rework those on different pieces of clothing and put them on my keep page. And if I think of any from my childhood that I actually want, I will definitely keep those too. You can choose what you do with your ones you're getting rid of. You could throw them away, or maybe afterward, once you're in a safe location, burn them.
Thanks for watching Make It Monday.